All right. I guess we have few people right now watching. So I guess I can start. Okay. Yeah, so for today, the plan is to actually show you the basics on how you can actually get started with React.js. I actually um, plan out to introduce you guys with the tooling first, what you're gonna be needing so that you can actually get started um, developing in React.js. So I might jump to here and there. I might be introducing some tools that you'll be needing, and also the things or the programming language itself that you need to actually learn. All right, so I guess let's go with the first focus. So yeah, so for now, I'll be discussing the tools that you might be needing. So if you wanted to actually get started developing on JavaScript, so this particular stream is actually focused on TypeScript, but again, TypeScript in the end is actually transferred to JavaScript. So I might be saying it was TypeScript and it's JavaScript. Okay. Yeah, so for you to get started, what are the tools you're going to be needing? So first of all, you have to have Node.js installed on your machine. So I'm actually using a Mac right now. But if you're on Windows, it's actually the same. The tools that you're going to be needing is the same. So first of all, you have to have Node.js installed. So for you to be able to find out if there's a running um, Node or JavaScript on your machine, you can actually verify that by running the code node-b. So you're not actually um, tied with JavaScript or Node.js alone. You can make use like bun if you prefer using bun. But if you're getting started, I guess the first thing that you heard about is JavaScript, and JavaScript actually runs on top of Node.js. So I'll be using Node.js for now, but you probably heard about bun if you're actually on the development world. Okay, and then the other one is you have to have a text editor. So for people just getting started, I actually recommend using VS Code, but I'm not be using VS Code on this stream. Instead, be using the prepared text editor that I'm using. Um, Other than that, you have to have Bit installed. So as you can tell about the banner before the stream actually gets started, this stream going to be discussing tooling like Bit and then React, and we're going to be developing this simple application. I might not be able to develop a simple application, but instead I'll be discussing more about React. So yeah, so for today, we're going to be focusing on Bit. Instead of using Next.js, I'll be using Bit React instead. So I'm kind of leaning to Bit React because this is going to be a very basic start um, developing or just getting started with React. So yeah, I'm leaning towards Bit and React today. And also, we'll be using TypeScript. So that's a little bit twist. So most people will probably start with JavaScript, but for me, I'll be going to TypeScript. So if you're coming from a background using JavaScript, I tend to actually use TypeScript for today. Okay, yeah, so like I said, we'll be using Bit to bootstrap our application. So, okay, we're actually can run the command. So To get started, I'll be using PNPN. I haven't yet planned any new of these applications, so I might be using to do. I'll be selecting React and then just TypeScript without SWC. Okay, so let's go to the do folder and then run pnpm install. Okay, since everything is installed right now, I'll be going over with the file structure. So like I said, I'm not using VS Code, but I highly recommend VS Code for people just getting started. Okay, so when you actually start creating a project using Bit, you'll be given um, a different set of files right here. So for me, I actually use PNPN to bootstrap this application. So that's why I have here a PNPN lock.yaml file. I'll be discussing more of this once we go along. But for now, um, what you need to actually um, think of is the SRC folder. So the SRC folder will house every components that you're going to be doing. It's not necessary to put on inside the SRC folder. You can actually create the file structure how you wanted to do your file structure. But for today, this is what given to us as a start. Um, but yeah, let me just move forward and start this application. Okay, so it's actually running on localhost 18. Yes, that's not running. Okay, so if you're starting, this is the starter app that you're be given. So yeah, like I said, it actually running in Bit plus React, as you can see here. So this is actually a working application right now, but I will actually remove everything and start from scratch so that you can be familiar on what I'm actually be discussing for today. Okay, let me go ahead and go to um, the app.ts. Okay, a brief introduction. So if you're using TypeScript, the file extension that you're be having is TSX instead of JSX. CSS is the same. The file extension is still CSS. The one that you have to be looking at the beginning is the main.ts. This is actually the entry point for your application. Like I said, I'll be jumping over on the other stops and discuss things that are very important once we get there. But for now, the thing that you're seeing right now on the browser is the app component, this one, and then the main file is the main.ts. Okay, let me go ahead and remove those files that we're not going to be needing. I'm actually going to start from scratch. I'll be removing this one, this CSS also. I guess I can make use of the uh, okay. Yeah, so as you can see, I clean up everything and just start with a plain blank file. But as you can see here, and as you can tell, there's an X red mark on my navigation pane right here that's saying that I have an error. But yeah, we're gonna fix that. Okay, so what do you need to um, actually learn before you get started with React.js? So the thing that you need to know is before React.js actually introduce a functional component, there is a class-based component. So I'm gonna um, introduce you a little bit on the class-based component, but I'm not going to be using that. But instead, yeah, I'll go ahead and create a functional component. So for React, you can start with just a plain function. So this function actually returns a JSX. So now, as you can see, this is now a valid um, React component. But the thing is, we haven't yet exported this. That's why it's actually yelling that there is an error. So if you take a look on the navigation, and if I go to the main application, the error is actually gone right now since I do have a valid app component right now. I can actually name this whatever I want. And um, so it doesn't like whatever. Yeah, but I'm gonna put it back to it. Okay, hopefully everything was fixed. Let me be okay. Yeah, I guess this is what the error. Okay, so again, let me try this again. So if I change this to whatever, okay, so this is still um, working. The reason why is this is the first thing that you need to actually learn about the syntax on JavaScript right now. So if you actually go to this application, as you can tell here, this was a default export, meaning to say you don't have to follow the name, so you can name it whatever you want if this is a default export. But if you instead do this as a name export, so let me do it that way. So now that this is a name export, I cannot use this one anymore. Instead, I could be importing the app instead. Okay. Yeah, so those are the things that you need to remember. So if you're um, exporting this as a default, you can name it whatever you want. And then if was a name export, you should follow the name. So but again, you don't have to follow that naming convention if you don't like, really, if you don't like. So you can do an alias to whatever, and then you're back to whatever. Okay. But yeah, it doesn't really goes well. So let me go back and then put this as a default export instead. Okay. If someone have a question, you can put in the on the chat. But since there's any, I'll go ahead and continue. So yeah, you can actually do an export like this, but again, there is a lot of ways to do this. You can probably go ahead with this. So export default function, instead of having that at the bottom, um, you can go ahead and export that immediately. Okay. Yeah, so let's move to a different topic. So I'll be creating component. So we actually had a component right now. So again, like I said, the main file is loading the app. So the app is actually one of the component that we're using right now. But we're gonna be doing another one. So let's say um, we'll be doing a card component. So yeah, again, start with an empty file and then export default function. Let me name this as card, and then return a, and then I'll go back to app, and I'll be using the card component. Okay. As you can see, it was actually loaded on the browser. It says card. Let me change the yes, yes, basics. Okay. Okay. So why are we doing component? So in React, we wanted to actually make a component for the reason that um, we wanted to reuse those component. So for example, right now I have a card component created. So if you wanted to actually create multiple card, you can do so by simply having another card. So React component is just like it's just like an HTML, but it's not really an HTML, but it's more like an HTML. But okay, so again, if you wanted to make some parts of your application reusable, you have to actually start making that as a component. So like this one. So let's say so the card actually says that this is a card. But yeah, every card has the same title, which is card. But if you wanted to um, make the card load a dynamic data, this is where um, the props actually comes in. So that is the component properties. Okay, let's go. Okay, so as you can see on the left on the browser, it actually says card. I created multiple card, but it says card. But we wanted the card to be dynamically loading information. So for that, we have to actually introduce properties. So how do we actually add property for the card. So again, since I'm using TypeScript, I'm gonna use type and then define a type named props. And then eventually these props, I'll be tying this to the component so that React knows what are the properties you need to have so that you can load this component, right? So let's say we need a title and that title is actually a string. So how can we use that property? So we say that this component, this card component, actually needs a property. So this is how we do it. So actually you can see this, these are the props, but instead I'm doing a object restructuring and then the title. So now that we actually say that this card component should have a title property and it's actually a required property, when we go back to the app component, as you can see here, it's actually telling us that yes, you're creating a card component, but this card component um, should have a title property. So we cannot just simply create a card without a title, since we say to the card component itself that this is a mandatory property or a required property. So we have to have a title. Let's say this is a number card. So the title is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So I'm not be focusing on the styling, so that's why it's just a plain 1, 2, 3. But if we actually inspect the element right here and then focus on one of the card. Yeah, as you can see here, it was actually wrapped into div, but we're not using any styling. That's why it actually displays like just a simple 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that is the way you actually create a property, a mandatory property. But what if you wanted to have a optional property? So you can actually put an optional property. So let's say as an optional property, let's say we have subtitle, and then this one is an optional property. Okay, so you can tell that this is just an optional by putting a question mark after the name of the property you're actually putting on. So for this one, we have an optional subtitle property. Let's make this a bit nicer. So let's say um, each one is for the title, and then we have each two as the um, we have to actually get it on the property first before we can make use of it. Okay, so if I go back to the app component, as you can see here, it doesn't yell at me. So because subtitle is actually an optional property. So for optional property, you can actually add those optional property if you want it, or if you don't like, you just ignore them since those are optional property. So let's make this the title, and then uh, eh, Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing. So if you're developing with React, so everything is actually a component. So you have to think of your application. If you're building an application, to actually slice that into component. So if you're building a website, let's say, um, if you're having a multiple page, there is a lot of duplication on those pages. For example, the header, the footer, or maybe the sidebar. So those are the parts of the website, of if you're building a website or a web page, that you wanted to actually slice or put into components. So you can say that this is the header component, this is the sidebar component, and then the footer component. And then you start building your page, and then reuse those components, so that you're not actually um, doing it over and over again. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and introduce another concept in React, which are the React hooks. Okay, so I'll be leaving this component here, and then I'll be introducing another concept in React. So in React, there's a hooks built into React. So what are these hooks? So hooks are functions made by the React core team, so that you can actually take advantage of it, and then make use of it on your application. For example, um, I'll be introducing you to state hooks. So what is the state hooks that I'm actually mentioning? So in JavaScript, if you wanted to declare a variable, you just simply declare a variable like var num1, or if you're using ES6, so it's let's say num1 is equal to maybe 10. So in React, this is different. So if you wanted to actually declare a variable in React, you should be thinking, instead of a variable, it's a state. Why it is a state? So states is actually something that actually change um, over time. So for example, at the beginning, as you can see, we started with a template from Bit, and then there's actually a button right there that I can click on, and then um, this button actually increments whenever I actually click that. So that is a state. So state is actually something that changes over time. So like for example, like I said on the previous sample, it's a counter. So the count of the counter actually change. So we can actually create another example about that. So let's say um, this state, and then we initialize the state as 0. Okay, so on new state, this is actually a function that returns um, two property. So it is actually an array that returns you the value itself. So we initialize the value as 0, so the count initialize at 0. And then the second one is the one that you'll be calling to actually set the value of the count. So you cannot say that count is equal to 1, and then eventually count plus plus, or maybe count is equal to count plus 1. You cannot simply mutate values in React. So you have to actually subscribe to the React system itself. So you have to follow um, some of the React, what do you call this? It's a thing in React that you have to be following. So yeah, so for you to be able to actually make a reaction, or for you to be able to get change, state change, or your component is changing, you have to actually make or subscribe to these functions. Okay, so let's say I'll be using that value of count to the second card. I'll be removing this one. Okay, so as you can see here, it's actually telling me that let me just go back to this card property. So for this card property, I say that the title is actually string. So right now, I'm actually passing a number. So that's why TypeScript's actually yelling at me saying that you're passing a number, but this card is actually expecting a string. So what I can do is actually turn this into a string. So I'll make this a template string. Okay. So now TypeScript is happy, but again, it's saying that I'm not using the set count. So I'll be using that later on. But for now, let me go ahead and save this. Okay, as you can see, we got the value of the count right here. It's 0. Okay, let me add a new div in here, and then I will add a button. Um, okay, okay, okay. So for me to be able to actually change the value of the count, I'll be using the click function of the button, and then execute a function set count. Okay, so for the set count, I can say yes, set it to 10. So if I click this, the value of the count is being set to 10. So if I click this more than once, it will not change because the value is actually static. So how will I able to actually change the value of the count? So I can say count plus 1. Okay, so it was 10. Now it's 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, this is actually one way to do it, but there's another way to do this by actually accessing the previous value of the count itself. So let's say this is the previous value, and now this is instead of just having the value directly on the set count, you're using a callback function accessing the previous value, and then what are you going to be doing on that previous value? Let's say the previous value, so which is 15 right now, plus 2. Let's say the previous value plus 2. Okay, so this is 15, 17, 19, 21. Okay, so that's the other way to do it. So if you wanted to access the previous value, instead at the beginning, the first example that I actually give it to you is count plus 1. So you're accessing the value of the current value of count, and then you're adding 1. So it's not that difference on the callback function that I actually did. You can set this to 3 or something else. But at the meantime, it's not that different. But but again, so those things are actually being defined by the React core team, because there is a reason why they actually do that. Okay, so I guess we can actually move to another React hooks, which is let's say before I actually do that, let me just create a function right here. So let's say um, um, in- for increment, and then this function actually, yes, increment the value, so set count. So the count plus 1, and then increment the function also like for decrement set count and so on. And then set up using this, I can say int, and then this is plus 1, and then another button and then this one. Okay, so let's try. So for plus 1, and add 1, minus 1. Okay, so what I'm doing here is actually separate the things that actually have a functionality. So what I did to actually extract it to a function so that you can actually reuse this if ever. So if there's a place that you wanted to reuse this, you can actually reuse it because it was now extracted. So we're using the same set count here, but as you can see, we have an increment function here and then a decrement function here. Okay, so yeah, let me go ahead and then introduce you to another React hooks, which is the use callback. So what is use callback? So use callback is actually use so that your application is be more performant. So how does that happen? So as you can see here, hopefully I have a React. Okay. Okay. So if I actually turn this on and I hit the plus button, and then the minus button, as you can see, React actually highlights the parts of the application or the component actually re-renders. So the only thing that I'm actually changing is the count, and then the only thing that is actually consuming that is the card here. But as you can see here, everything is actually being re-rendered. Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that you can actually do is to use a technique wherein you can actually take out other stuffs in here or make use of use callback so that you can actually prevent that from happening. But for this example, for use callback, I will actually illustrate this differently But what I actually show you guys is React actually do the rendering from top to bottom, see if this component should be re-rendered. But right now, we're not saying that this should not and this one should. So yeah, eventually I'm gonna teach you how you can actually tell which component should be re-rendered and which component should not be re-rendering. Okay, but yeah, let's go back to the use callback. I guess this is going to be the last um, React hooks that I'll be discussing today. So I plan this to do it in just 1 hour or under 1 hour. So maybe I'll be doing this again on Saturday, and let's just continue learning about the other React hooks. Yeah, so let's introduce use callback in here. So use callback actually takes a callback function and then a dependency array. Okay, so what do I mean by dependency array? So dependency array actually tells um, this use callback when to actually recreate this function. So at the beginning, we're not using use callback. So I showed you that whenever I actually click the plus button or the minus button, the component re-rendered. So that so as this function. So this function actually being recreated again and again if the count actually changed. So it's not a bad thing because this function actually depends on the count, but there are times that you don't want this function to be recreated again if they're not depending on it. But for this example, I guess this is a bad example, but again, this is just a demonstration. So I'll make use of it. Use callback. Callback takes a callback function and then a dependency array. But for now, I'll not be adding any dependency, and I will show you the difference on how this actually works. Okay, let me start with the initial value of 10. Okay, so we started at 10, and then we make use of use callback, and again, so we're expecting to actually see this working properly, but let me just hit the plus button. So I hit the plus button, so now it's 11. I hit it again, it's still 11. I hit it again, it's still 11. But if I hit the minus button, it's 10, 9, 8. But if again I hit the plus button, it's back with 11. Again, I hit the plus button, still 11. I hit the minus button a bunch of time, and now it's 6. And when I hit the plus button, it's back with 11. So why this is happening? So like I said, use callback actually had a dependency array. So when this function is actually created, the first value of the count is 10. So we don't have any dependency here in the dependency array. So we're not telling that we're actually depend on the count. So this is not being recreated. So at the beginning, again, the count is 10. So it stays at 10. So this function doesn't recreate itself because we haven't tell this function when to actually recreate itself. So that is where the dependency array comes into play. So if you wanted that to change whenever the count has changed, you have to put the count as one of the dependency on the dependency array. Okay, so now that we did that, so we're back into 11. And then when I hit the plus button, it actually back working the right way that we expected. Hopefully that makes sense, and are you're able to actually grasp why we wanted to actually make use callback, and then what are the dependency array. So if you're using like the text editor that I'm using, it actually tells you that um yeah, you're using the count, but you're not putting that on one of the dependency. So okay, yeah. So like I said, this might be the last hooks that I'll be discussing today. So I plan to actually continue this live coding on Saturday, another hour on Saturday. But if I can actually do it this maybe earlier, I can spend maybe an hour or two. Yeah, hopefully you learned something, and you get something out of here. So I again there's a bunch of callback we can discuss. There's a use memo, and then memo. There is also use rep. Those are the things that I'm gonna be discussing on the next stream that I'll be doing. So for now, um, yeah, this is just a simple introduction with React. Hopefully, you actually have an idea on how to work on it. Okay, again, um, the only thing that you need to do is to actually create a function, name that function, and then return a JSX, and then you have a React function working. So yeah, that's the first step. And then so we introduce a state. So if you wanted to actually have your application reacts on state chains, you have to introduce use state. And then if you're building a component, and then you wanted that component to dynamically change um, how it looks, how the actual data being rendered, you have to leverage the props on the component. So you have to define props. You don't need to do it this way. You can actually do it this way. Title string, subtitle string. But I prepare this one because it's more cleaner. So from here, I can see what are the properties that I need, what are the mandatory property, what are the optional property that I need, and then um, get those, use or render those onto the component itself. Okay, so I guess it's under an hour, so I still have 8 minutes. If someone have a question, you can actually put that on the chat, and I will try to answer the question before I end the stream at exactly 9 p.m. or earlier if you don't have question. Anyone have a question? I guess that is a no. Um, yeah, going once. Going twice. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and end the live stream right now. Hopefully the 6 viewer that I have today will be present. I'm planning to do this again on Saturday. Hopefully there's more people will come so that we can actually discuss more of React. And by the way, I'm trying to speak in English, but as you can probably tell, I'm a Filipino. I speak Tagalog, but I'm actually speaking in English so that I can actually reach more people. Hopefully, others can see this live stream and they'll be able to understand what I'm actually saying. So, waiting for Redux Basics. Okay. Yeah, I have on the chat. So, it's actually started. I'm waiting for Redux Basics. Okay. Yeah. For it now, this is just basic. I can say that we'll be sticking to simple states first, and then we'll dig deeper to, for example, Redux. But right now, if you're just starting, I recommend you taking a look at Sustan instead of Redux. Redux is actually something that is not easy to understand, but it's very powerful. It's very testable. So if you're actually um, wanting to know Redux, we can probably create a video session for that. But if you're just beginning, I actually wanted to um, put you into other state management like Susan. Susan is if you understand the basic of state hooks like the use state, you can probably grasp immediately Susan. So it's like just a use state, but it's very powerful. But Redux versus Susan, um, I can say a large application use Redux. So if you tend to actually create a large application, yeah, you can go ahead and use Redux. But if it's just a simple state change and you wanted to persist those changes so that you can actually access that to a different component, I guess I can say you can make use of Substance or maybe just leverage the built-in React context. So if you're using a React context, um, you can probably achieve the same thing. So what is your use case? Why are you planning to actually use Redux? I guess you're probably building a large application. That's why you wanted to learn Redux. But yeah, Redux are actually built into React right now. Yeah, probably after some of the other hooks that I'm gonna be discussing, I will go over to Redux. Um, the same, Jim, Jumil. Hopefully, I actually pronounce your name the right way. Should I use TS or JS? If you're just starting right now, I recommend you going to JavaScript, and then eventually jump into TypeScript. Why am I actually recommending TypeScript? Because TypeScript actually give you type safety. As you can tell, on the ones that I'm actually showing, um, TypeScript actually tells you that you created a property which is string, but you're passing a value which is a number. So these are the things that TypeScript can immediately tell you. But if you're using plain JavaScript, you have to actually figure out yourself. So it might lead you to some bug that you never really expected. But if you're using TypeScript, TypeScript is actually something that can help you so that you will be preventing those sloppy, I mean, sloppy code. So maybe you wanted to assign this value to this value, but TypeScript will tell you that no, you define this as a string. You should actually put a string. And by the way, if you're just beginning, um, someone will tell you that you should be starting with JavaScript. Yes, that is correct. But if you wanted to go ahead and start using TypeScript, you can still go ahead and use TypeScript. Um, as an example, if you're using, um, I guess you already know JavaScript, the basic of JavaScript. So what I can say right now, if you're jumping into TypeScript with a little knowledge of JavaScript, I guess I can say that's enough. So you will learn those things along the way. For example, you're like a person that goes to some other country. So you know the basic, you know JavaScript. You can talk some. For example, you go to Japan, so you can talk a little bit of their language. Let's say that is JavaScript, but you don't know how to speak deeply on their language. So you will learn that along the way. So if you actually go to TypeScript, you will learn those things along the way. Okay. Yeah, so as you can probably tell, there's not that much TypeScript that I put on here, but some of the editor feedback um gives some like type checking. But eventually, if we're going to be building a simple application, when we're there, hopefully you'll find TypeScript very useful. And then yeah, I guess I'm using a good editor in here. As you can probably tell, it actually tells you um what is this and what is this, and this function returns what. Yes. Um, so anybody here using other text editor other than VS Code? Um, no. Yeah. So I guess we're over an hour. I'll be ending this stream, so you can go ahead and reach me if you have question. Again, I just wanted to stress out, I'm a Filipino. I speak Tagalog, so I'm actually speaking English in this stream. Again, because I wanted to reach more people. That's why. Um, yeah. If you wanted to reach me, I actually have um, a page that I maintain on Facebook. It was Deb Snippets PH. That was the web page that I'm maintaining. I'll be posting some code snippets. I don't want to actually put a lot in there. As you can probably tell if you visit my page, it's just a snippet of code. So those are the snippets that I'll be going over again here in this stream. Yeah. Um, Hopefully I can see you again on the next stream that I'll be doing. I probably do that on Saturday, and that's the plan. But I don't know. I'll be posting an update on my page on the dev snippet page. Hopefully you guys also subscribes to my YouTube page and then like my um, Facebook page. Okay, so thank you guys for staying an hour on this stream. If you're early or just lately joined, I just wanted to thank you by staying. Okay, thank you guys. I'll be ending the stream. Yeah, thank you. I'll continue posting more content, and hopefully we'll reach more, and then we'll teach more people. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be ending the stream in a minute. So see you guys on the next stream. Thank you and good night.